25 years after the world's worst nuclear accident in Chernobyl, More magazine has visited a community of women who are risking their health to live around that plant's radioactive surroundings. And joining us now, Editor-in-Chief of More magazine, Lesley Jane Seymour, back at the table. Good to have you.
Hi,
what an interesting piece.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Tell us about it.
And just strange timing. Who would have guessed? I mean, as John knows from being in the magazine business, you're planning this 6 months in advance, and we were doing it about the 25th anniversary, which is April 26th. So, I mean, who would have guessed what would be going on in the real world? And I was interested in the fact that all these women who were moved out of the radiation zone have moved back in because of their feeling about home. And they decided it was better to be home than it was to be displaced. And there actually is anecdotal evidence that shows that these women live longer. They're all in their 80s. I mean, these are these incredible photos of these women in their 80s. They're babushkas. They're all, you know, very, very weazened, and but they have this wonderful community, and they feel really strongly that being in home actually makes them live longer, and there is some health evidence to show that that's true.
Well, 25 years later, they're still there.
Yes.
And what was found about how they were affected by this?
Well, a lot of them, they have, you know, some cancers and things like that. Most of the men, the interesting thing is the men all died. Go figure that. You have to be over the age of 48 in order to live in this zone, and their kids can only come to see them once a year. But they have this little community. They have, you know, very little electricity. They have no running water, and it's about 200 of them, and they live, and they are all very, very old and living older than the people who are displaced.
Interesting scientific implications and concepts coming out of how they are doing 25 years later. But back to the concept of home, even with these constraints, their children not able to be there too long, and the health issues, it's still home.
It's still home. And they talk about, you know, of course these women lived through, you know, Stalin and losing millions and millions of people in Russia. So they say that, you know, starvation scares them, not radiation. It is the craziest story. It is so inspiring. And what I did it for was because it's all about risk. And as you get older, you decide how you're going to live with risk. You know, when you're in your 20s, you may think, I'm not going to risk anything, or I'm going to risk everything. And then as you get older, your whole feeling about, you know, risk and how it's going to play out in your life changes.
So,
I mean, I don't know how you guys feel.
The men went back with the women?
Some of them did, and the men, for whatever reason, died very early. I mean, unfortunately, when you look at longevity statistics across the board, you guys don't fare so well, even in the U.S.
That's why I'm living it up, drinking much sugar.
Well, this is one of the problems. But it's quite a fascinating piece, and I have to tell you that people have like pursued me into, you know, the ladies' room of events, telling me they read this piece. So I'm just so glad that we can talk about it because it's timely.
It is.
Ed,
people
please
are blown
don't
away.
pursue her.
No,
that's one of the better reasons I've heard for being pursued.
I'm sorry,
into the
this isn't the New York Post.
Go ahead,
but it's okay.
Did you notice that Erin had the New York Post at her fingertips?
Yes,
he has been obsessed with the New York Post today.
Well, it's interesting. I don't know if your research gave you this idea, or the facts here. I think a lot of Americans wonder why 3 Mile Island didn't turn out to be Chernobyl. And at 3 Mile Island, there's been not one reported death, either short-term or long-term. What was the difference? It was contained better?
Well, I don't know a lot about 3 Mile Island myself, but I mean, this definitely, there's, you know, they had to work on it. They did so many different things, and these ladies definitely live with a lot of contamination. It's not like they don't.
And so the radiation is still there 25 years later?
Yes, yes.
That's
and
incredible.
In fact, the Ukrainian government has, the reason why we did the piece, we kind of did it in a weird way, is that it is a semi-travel piece. Believe it or not, they have opened up the zone to tourism, and they're encouraging people to come. You have to go with a dosimeter, and you can only stay so long. I mean, it's completely crazy. And what I think is really interesting is that the Japanese are saying now that people should be back in the zone after 6 to 9 months. I mean, and they're saying it's worse than Chernobyl. That doesn't make any sense to me.
No, it doesn't.
And
but how amazing these women.
They're extraordinary women.
What they have survived. I guess the Depression. They survived Stalin.
That's right.
Then they survived Hitler. And then they had to survive Stalin again.
You know what? And they're going to go and stay home. That's what they wanted to do.
This is it. And and not to change the subject, but do you know that in this same issue, Joe, you're one of our men we love? We didn't bring that up.
Isn't that
we had Alec Baldwin who opened the issue. It's 50 Men We Love.
Wonderful.
And
Keith
we
Richards.
missed,
Well,
we
there we
missed
go.
telling you.
Keith
See
Richards?
that? That's nice. You should say thank
along
you.
with Keith Richards. Well, I
Say
would.
thank you to Lesley.
I would, except I read what they said about me.
We
What'd
said
they
that it was
say?
By the
because
way,
of Mika.
it's 11 men that we love against our
better
Say thank you to
better judgment.
Leslie. That's nice.
What did you say?
Thank you
No,
so much.
it's-
I
it's
appreciate
weird.
it.
Leslie, quickly, tell us.
We said that we actually really love him because of his sidekick, Mika.
No, you didn't. Oh, my
That's what
Lord.
it came down to. And by
I
the
didn't
way,
read it that
the
way.
people at More Magazine
Okay.
understand seriously who runs the show. And
We
it's
do.
not the guy who talks.
That's right.
I would like to clarify something, too, if I could.
What's that?
This drink that you call a sugary drink is actually
sugary.
steamed skim milk with a splash of cocoa because Starbucks makes their cocoa way too strong,
Right.
way too sugary, way too chocolatey, so I have
Wait,
to adjust.
That's why I added 3 spoonfuls.
So don't say
of
you're
sugar.
drinking. No, you didn't.
Yes, I
More
did.
Magazine's Lesley Jane Seymour. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
It's
Good
great
to
to
see
see
you.
you.
It goes down smooth.
We will be right back.
Just like More Magazine.